Pilgrim's Progress continues, cassette number 1, side B. There came also flashes of lightning out of the hill, so that Christian was afraid he would be burnt, and he began to sweat and tremble with fear. He was sorry now that he had listened to Mr. Worldly Wise Man's counsel. While he stood there not knowing what to do, he saw Evangelist coming towards him. At the sight of him, Christian blushed for shame. Coming up to him, Evangelist looked at him with a severe and dreadful countenance, and thus began to talk with Christian. "What are you doing here, Christian?" said he. Christian did not know how to answer, so he stood there speechless before him. Evangelist went on, "Are you not the man that I found crying outside the city of destruction?" "Yes, dear sir, I am the man." "Did I not direct you the way to the little narrow gate?" "Yes, dear sir," said Christian. "How is it then that you are so quickly turned aside? For you are now out of the way," said Evangelist. "I met with a gentleman soon after I got over the Slough of Despond," explained Christian. "He persuaded me that I might, in this village before me, find a man who could take off my burden." "What was he?" asked Evangelist. "He looked like a gentleman, and talked much to me, and got me at last to yield. So I came this way, but when I beheld this hill, and how it hangs over the road, I stopped, for fear it would fall on my head." "What did that gentleman say to you?" "He asked me where I was going, and I told him." "And what did he say then?" Evangelist persisted. "He asked me if I had a family, and I told him. 'Bud,' said I am so laden with the burden on my back that I cannot take pleasure in them as formerly.' "And what did he say then?" Christian answered, "He bid me to get rid of my burden quickly, and I told him this was what I wanted to do. 'And,' said I'm going to that wicket gate yonder to receive further direction on how I may get to the place of deliverance.' So he said he would show me a better and shorter way, not so attended with the difficulties as the way, sir, that you sent me in. 'Which way,' said he, 'will direct you to a gentleman's house who has skill to take off these burdens.' So I believed him, and turned out of that way into this one, hoping that I might soon be eased of my burden. But when I came to this place, and saw things as they are, I stopped, for fear of danger, as I said. Now I do not know what to do." "Then," said Evangelist, "stand still a little, so that I may show you the words of God." He stood, trembling. "Then," said Evangelist, "see that you do not refuse him who is speaking, for if they did not escape when they refused him who warned them on earth, much less shall we escape if we reject him who warns from heaven. And again, the just shall live by faith, but if he draws back, my soul shall have no pleasure in him." Then he applied these words thus: "You are a man who is running into misery. You have begun to reject the counsel of the Most High, and to draw back your foot from the way of peace, even almost to the point of your utter ruin." Christian fell down at his feet as dead, crying, "Woe is me, for I am undone." Evangelist caught him by the right hand, saying, "All manner of sin and blasphemies shall be forgiven men. Be not faithless, but believing." Christian then revived a little, and stood up again, still trembling. Evangelist then proceeded, saying, "Give more earnest heed to the things that I shall tell you. I will show you who has deluded you, and who it was to whom he sent you. The man who met you is one worldly wise man, rightly so called, because he likes only the teaching of this world. For this reason he always goes to the town of morality to church. The reason he loves the world's doctrine best is that it saves him from the cross. Because he is of this carnal or fleshly temper, he seeks to pervert my ways, although they are right. There are 3 things in this man's counsel that you must utterly abhor and avoid. First, that he turned you out of the way. Second, that he tried to make the cross odious to you. Third, that he set your foot in that way that leads to the ministration of death. First, you must abhor his turning you out of the way, yes, and your own consenting to it, because this is to reject the counsel of God for the sake of the counsel of a worldly wise man. The Lord says, strive to enter in at the narrow gate, the gate to which I send you. For narrow is the gate which leads to life, and few there are who find it. From this little wicket gate, and from the way to it, this wicked man has turned you, bringing you almost to destruction. Hate, therefore, his turning you out of the way, and abhor yourself for listening to him. Secondly, you must abhor his efforts to make the cross odious to you, because you are to prefer the cross above all the treasures of Egypt. The King of glory has told you that he who will save his life will lose it, and that he who comes after him and does not hate father, mother, wife, children, brothers, and sisters, yes, and his own life also, he cannot be his disciple. I say, then, for a man to labor to persuade you that the very thing will be death to you, without which the truth says you cannot have eternal life, this teaching you must abhor and hate. Thirdly, you must hate this setting your feet in the way that leads to the ministration of death. And for this you must consider to whom he sent you, and how unable that person is to deliver you from your burden. The one to whom you were sent is named Legality, the son of a slave who is now in bondage with her children. And this mountain which you feared would fall on your head is Mount Sinai. Now if she, with her children, is in slavery, how can you expect to be made free by them? This legality, therefore, is not able to free you from your burden. No man was as yet ever rid of his burden by him, nor is ever likely to be. You cannot be justified by works of the law, for by the deeds of the law no man living can be rid of his burden. Therefore, Mr. Worldly Wise Man is an alien, and Mr. Legality is a cheat. And as for his son, Civility, notwithstanding his simpering looks, he is but a hypocrite and cannot help you. Believe me, there is nothing in all this noise that you have heard from these foolish men, but a design to beguile you and cheat you of your salvation by turning you from the way in which I had set you. After this, Evangelist called aloud to the heavens for confirmation of what he had said, and with that there came words and fire out of the mountain under which poor Christian stood, which made the hair of his flesh stand up. The words were thus pronounced, As many as are under the works of the law are under a curse, for it is written, Cursed is every one who continues not in all the things which are written in the book of law to do them. Now Christian looked for nothing but death, and began to cry and lament, and even to curse the time when he met Mr. Worldly Wise Man. He called himself a fool 1,000 times over to think that this gentleman's arguments, flowing only from the flesh, should have won him over so far as to cause him to forsake the right way. This done, he applied himself again to Evangelist in words something like this, Sir, what do you think? Is there any hope? May I now go back and go up to the wicket gate? Shall I not be abandoned for this and sent back condemned? I am sorry that I have listened to this man's counsel. May my sin be forgiven? Your sin is very great, answered Evangelist, for by it you have committed 2 evils. You have forsaken the way that is good, and have walked in forbidden paths. Yet will the man at the gate receive you. But take heed that you turn not aside again, lest you perish from the way when his wrath is kindled but a little. Christian turned himself to go back, and Evangelist, when he had kissed him, gave him a smile and bid him Godspeed. So he went on with haste, neither did he speak to anyone by the way, nor if anyone asked him anything did he give an answer. He went like one who was all the time walking on forbidden ground, and who could not think himself safe till again he was back on the way he had left to follow Mr. Worldly Wise Man's counsel. So, in the process of time, Christian got up to the gate. Chapter 4. Christian reaches the wicket gate. Over the wicket gate there was written, "Knock, and it shall be opened unto you." He knocked, therefore, more than once or twice, saying, "May I now enter here? Will he within open to sorry me, though I have been an undeserving rebel? Then shall I not fail to sing his lasting praise on high." At last there came a grave person to the gate named Goodwill, who asked who was there, where he came from, and what he would have. Christian said, "Here is a poor, burdened sinner. I come from the city of destruction, but I am going to Mount Zion, so that I may be delivered from the wrath that is to come. Since I have been told that by this gate is the way to Mount Zion, I would know, sir, if you are willing to let me in." "I am willing with all my heart," replied Goodwill, and with that he opened the gate. When Christian was stepping in, the other man gave him a quick pull. "What does that mean?" asked Christian. "A little distance from this gate there is a mighty castle, of which Beelzebub is the captain," said Goodwill. "From there both he and those who are with him shoot arrows at those who come up to this gate, hoping they may die before they can enter." "I rejoice and tremble," said Christian. When Christian was safely in, the man of the gate asked him who had directed him to the gate. He answered, "Evangelist directed me to come here and knock as I did, and he said that you, sir, would tell me what I must do." "An open door is set before you, and no man can shut it," said Goodwill. "Now I begin to reap the benefit of my dangers?" exclaimed Christian. "But how is it that you came alone?" "Because none of my neighbors saw their danger as I saw mine." "Did any of them know of your coming?" "Yes," said Christian. "My wife and children saw me at the first and called after me to turn around. There were also some of my neighbors who cried after me to return, but I put my fingers in my ears and so came on my way." "But did not one of them follow you to persuade you to go back?" asked Goodwill. "Yes," he answered, "both obstinate and pliable. But when they saw they could not prevail, Obstinate went back, railing and shouting. And Pliable came with me a little way. But why did he not come through to the gate? We both came together, said Christian, until we came to the Slough of Despond, where we both fell. My neighbor, Pliable, was then discouraged, and would adventure no farther. He got out of the slough on the side nearest to his home, and told me that I should possess the brave country alone for him. He went his way, and I went mine, he after Obstinate, and I to this gate. Alas, poor man, sighed Goodwill, is the celestial glory of so little value that he does not count it worth the danger of a few difficulties to obtain it? Replied Christian, Truly, I have spoken the truth about Pliable, and, if I should also say the truth about myself, it will be plain that there is not a choice between us. It's true he went back to his own house, but I also turned aside to go into the way of death, being persuaded by the carnal argument of one Mr. Worldly Wise Man. Oh, did he light upon you? Exclaimed Goodwill. He would have you seek for ease at the hands of Mr. Legality. They are both cheats. But did you take his counsel? Yes, as far as I dared, said Christian. I went to find Mr. Legality until I thought that the mountain that stands by his house would fall on my head, and I was forced to stop. That mountain has been the death of many, and will be the death of many more. Goodwill shook his head. It is well you escaped being dashed in pieces by it. Truly, I do not know what would have become of me had not Evangelist happily met me again as I was musing in the midst of my dumps. But it was God's mercy that he came to me again, for else I would never have arrived here. But now, here I am, such as I am, more fit indeed for death by that mountain than to be standing talking with my Lord. But oh, what a favor is this to me that I am yet admitted entrance here. We make no objections against any, said Goodwill, notwithstanding all that they have done before they arrived. They in no wise are cast out. Therefore, good Christian, come a little way with me, and I will teach you about the way you must travel. Look ahead of you. Do you see this narrow way? That is the way you must go. It was built up by the patriarchs, prophets, Christ and his apostles, and it is as straight as a rule can make it. This is the way you must go. Christian queried, but are there no turnings or windings by which a stranger may lose his way? Yes, there are many ways that butt down on this one, and they are crooked and wide. But this is the way you may distinguish the right from the wrong. The right only is straight and narrow. Then I saw in my dream that Christian asked him further if he could not help him off with the burden that was on his back, for as yet he had not gotten rid of it, and could not get it off by any means without help. As to your burden, said Goodwill, be content to bear it until you come to the place of deliverance, for there it will fall from off your back by itself. Then Christian began to gird up his loins and to address himself to the journey. Goodwill told him that before he had gone very far he would come to the house of the interpreter, at whose door he should knock, and he would show him excellent things. Then Christian took his leave of his friend, and Goodwill again bid him Godspeed. Chapter 5. At the Interpreter's House. Christian went on till he came to the house of the interpreter, where he knocked over and over. At last a man came to the door and asked who was there. Sir, here is a traveler, Christian responded, who was bidden by an acquaintance of the good man of this house to call here for his profit. I would, therefore, speak to the master of the house. So he called for the master of the house, and after a little time he appeared and asked Christian what he would have. Christian said, Sir, I am a man who has come from the city of destruction, and am going to Mount Zion. I was told by the man who stands at the gate at the head of this road that if I called here, you would show me excellent things which would be helpful to me on my journey. Come in, answered the interpreter. I will show you that which will be profitable to you. So the master commanded his helper to light a candle, and bade Christian to follow him. They went into a private room, where Christian saw the picture of a very serious-looking person hanging against the wall. It had eyes lifted up to heaven, the best books in its hands, the law of truth written upon its lips, and the world behind its back. It stood as if it pleaded with men, and a crown of gold hung over its head. What does this mean? Asked Christian. The man whose picture this is one of 1,000, answered the interpreter. He can say in the words of the apostle, though you have countless guides in Christ, you do not have many fathers. For I became your father in Christ Jesus through the gospel. My little children, with whom I am again in travail until Christ be formed in you. You see that his eyes are lifted up to heaven, that he has the best of books in his hand, and the law of truth upon his lips. This is to show you that his work is to know and unfold hidden things to sinners, just as you also see him standing as if he pleaded with men. As you can see the world as though it were cast behind him, and that a crown hangs over his head. This is to show that slighting and despising things are present for the love he has to his master's service. He is sure in the world to come to have glory for his reward. Now I have shown you this picture first because the man whose picture this is the only man whom the Lord of the city to which you are going has authorized to be your guide. He has been authorized to help in all difficult places you may meet with on the way. So take good heed to what I have shown you, and keep well in mind what you have seen, lest in your journey you meet with some who pretend to lead you right, but whose way goes down to death. Then, taking Christian by the hand, the interpreter led him into a very large parlor, full of dust, as though it was never swept. When they had looked at it for a little while, the interpreter called for a man to sweep. As the room was swept, the dust flew about so abundantly that Christian almost choked on it. Then said the interpreter to a young woman who stood by, "Bring water and sprinkle the room." When she had done this, the room was swept and cleaned with ease. "What does this mean?" asked Christian. The interpreter answered, "This parlor is the heart of a man that was never sanctified by the sweet grace of the gospel. The dust is his original sin, and the inward corruptions that have defiled the whole man. He that began to sweep at first is the law, but she that brought water and sprinkled the room with it is the gospel. Now you saw that as soon as the man began to sweep, the dust flew about so much that the room could not be cleansed, but instead you were almost choked with the dust. This is to show you that the law, by its working, instead of cleansing the heart from sin, actually revives and puts strength into it and increases it in the soul, even as it uncovers sin and forbids it. The law does not give power to subdue sin. Again, you saw the young woman sprinkle the room with water, and afterward the room was easily cleansed. This is to show you that when the gospel comes in, the sweet and precious influences of it so affect the heart, as you saw the young woman lay the dust by sprinkling the floor with water, that sin is vanquished and subdued, and the soul is made clean through the faith of the gospel, and consequently the soul is made fit for the King of glory to inhabit. I saw then in my dream that the interpreter took him by the hand and led him into a little room where there were 2 children, each in his chair. The name of the older was Passion, and the name of the other Patience. Passion seemed to be very discontented, but Patience was very quiet. Then Christian asked, "What is the reason of the unhappiness in Passion?" "Their governess would have him wait for his best things till the beginning of next year, but he wants all of it now," replied the interpreter. "Patience, however, is willing to wait." Then I saw that someone came to Passion and brought him a bag of treasure and poured it down at his feet. He took it up and was happy with it, laughing Patience to scorn. But I watched for a while and saw that he had wasted it all away and had nothing left him but rags. "Expound this matter more fully to me," said Christian. "These 2 lads," the interpreter continued, "are figures. Passion is a picture of the men of this world, and Patience is one of the world which is to come. And as you can see, Passion wants all now, this year, that is to say, in this world. So are the men of this world. They must have all their good things now. They cannot wait till next year, that is, until the next world, for their portion of good. That proverb, 'A bird in the hand is worth more than 2 in the bush,' is of more authority to them than all the divine testimonies of the world to come. But as you saw that he quickly lavished all away, and soon had nothing left but rags, so will it be for all such men at the end of this world." Christian responded, "I see that Patience has the greater wisdom on several accounts. First, because he waits for the best things, and also because he will have the glory and joy of his when the other has nothing but rags. You may add another," continued the interpreter. "The glory of the next world will never wear out, but that of this world is suddenly gone. Therefore Passion never had so much reason to laugh at Patience as patience will have to laugh at passion. First must give place to last, because last must have his time to come. But last gives place to nothing, for there's not another to succeed him. He who has his portion first surely must have time to spend it. But he who has his portion last must have it lastingly. Therefore it is said of Dives, the rich man, "In your lifetime you received your good things, and Lazarus in like manner evil things. But now he is comforted here, and you are in anguish." "I perceive, then," Christian observed, "that it is not best to covet things that are now, but to wait for things to come." "You say truth," replied his friend, "for the things that are seen are temporal, but the things that are not seen are eternal. But though this is so, yet since things present and our fleshly appetites are such good neighbors to one another, and because things to come and carnal sense are such strangers to one another, that is why it is so easy to be like passion, and so hard to be like patience." Then I saw in my dream that the interpreter took Christian by the hand and led him into a place where there was a fire burning in a fireplace. Someone standing by it was always casting water on it to put it out, yet in spite of this the fire continued to burn higher and hotter. Again Christian asked what the scene meant. The interpreter said, "This fire is the work of grace that is worked in the heart. He who casts water on it to extinguish it and put it out is the devil. I will show you the reason why, in spite of his efforts to put the fire out, it burns hotter and higher." With that, he led him around to the other side of the wall, where he saw a man with a vessel of oil in his hand, from which he continually, but secretly, poured oil into the fire. "This," continued the interpreter, "is Christ, who continually, with the oil of his grace, maintains the work already begun in the heart. It is because of this that in spite of all the devil can do, the souls of his people prove gracious still. And the fact that the man with the oil stands behind the wall to maintain the fire shows that it is hard for the tempted to see how this work of grace is maintained in the soul." I saw also that the interpreter took him by the hand and led him into a pleasant place where there was a stately palace, beautiful to behold. At the sight of this, Christian was greatly delighted. He saw also upon the top of the palace certain persons walking who were clothed all in gold. "May we go higher?" he asked. Then the interpreter led him up toward the door, where a great company of men were standing, desiring to go on, but dared not. There also sat a man at a little distance from that door beside a table, with a book and his inkhorn in front of him, to take the names of those who should enter the palace door. Christian also saw that in the doorway stood many men in armor to guard it, who were resolved to do whatever hurt or mischief they could to anyone who entered the door. Christian was somewhat confused by this, and as he looked he saw a man of very stout countenance come up to the man who sat by the writing table, saying, "Set my name down, sir." When that was done, the man drew his sword, put a helmet upon his head, and rushed toward the door upon the armed men, who laid upon him with deadly force. But the man, not at all discouraged, began cutting and hacking most fiercely. So, after receiving many wounds and giving many wounds to those who tried to keep him out, he cut his way through them all and pressed forward into the palace. This being done, there was a pleasant voice heard from those inside, even those who walked on top of the palace, saying, come in, eternal glory thou shalt win." So the man went in, and there was clothed with such garments as they wore. Christian smiled and said, "I think, truly, I know the meaning of this." Christian felt he was ready to resume his journey, but interpreter said, "Stay until I have shown you a little more, and then you may go your way." Again he led him into a very dark room, where a man sat in an iron cage. Now the man seemed very sad, and sat with his eyes looking to the ground, his hands folded together, sighing as if his heart was breaking. The interpreter invited Christian to talk with the man. "What are you?" asked Christian. "I am what I was not once," was the reply. "What were you once?" he asked. The man replied, "I was once a fair and flourishing professing Christian, both in my own eyes and in the eyes of others. I was once, as I thought, on my way to the celestial city, and even had joy at the thoughts I should get there." "Well then," said Christian again, "what are you now?" "I am a man of despair," he answered. "I am shut up in it, as in this iron cage. I cannot get out. Oh, now I cannot." "But how did you get into this condition?" persisted Christian. The man said, "I stopped watching and being sober. I gave in to my lusts. I sinned against the light of the Word and the goodness of God. I have grieved the Spirit, and he is gone. I tempted the devil, and he came to me. I have provoked God to anger, and he has left me. I have so hardened my heart that I cannot repent." "For what did you bring yourself into this condition?" asked Christian. "For the lusts, pleasures, and profits of this world," the man answered. "In the enjoyment of these things I promised myself much delight. But now every one of those things bites and gnaws me like a burning worm." The interpreter interjected, "Let this man's misery be remembered by you, and be an everlasting warning to you." "Well, this is fearful," exclaimed Christian. "God help me to watch and be sober, and to pray, so that I may shun the cause of this man's misery." Christian was becoming a little eager to leave, but interpreter again bid him wait for one thing more. Then he said, "You may go on your way." So he led Christian into yet another room, where there was a man rising out of bed. As he put his clothes on, he shook and trembled. Then said Christian, "Why does this man tremble so?" The interpreter bid the man tell the reason for his trembling to Christian, and he spoke thus: "This night, as I was in my sleep, I dreamed, and behold, the heavens grew exceeding black. It thundered and lightened in the most fearful way, so that it put me in agony. So I looked up and saw the clouds moving at an unusual rate, and heard a great sound of a trumpet. Then I saw a man sitting upon a cloud, attended with the thousands of heaven. They were all in flaming fire, as were the heavens too. Then I heard a great voice saying, 'Arise, you dead, and come to judgment.' And with that the rocks split, the graves opened, and the dead in them came forth. Some of them were exceeding glad and looked upward, while others sought to hide themselves under the mountains. Then I saw the man that sat upon the cloud open the book and bid the world draw near. Yet there was, because of the flame which issued out and came before him, a considerable distance between him and them, as between the judge and the prisoners at the bar. I heard it also proclaimed to them who attended the man who sat on the cloud, 'Gather together the tares, the chaff, and stubble, and cast them into the burning lake.' And with that the bottomless pit opened, almost where I stood. Out of the mouth of it there came much smoke and coals of fire with hideous noises. To the same attendants it was said, 'Gather the wheat into his storehouses.' And with that I saw many caught up and carried away in clouds, but I was left behind. I too sought to hide myself, but I could not, for the man who sat upon the cloud still kept his eye on me. My sins came to my mind, and my conscience accused me on every side. Just then I awakened from my sleep." "But what was it that made you so afraid at this sight?" asked Christian. "Why, I thought the day of judgment had come," answered the other, and I thought I was not ready for it. This was what frightened me most, that the angels gathered up others and left me behind. Then, too, the pit of hell opened her mouth just where I stood, and my conscience, too, afflicted me. I thought, too, as the judge was keeping his eye on me, that he showed indignation in his countenance. The interpreter then put a question to Christian. "Have you considered all these things?" "Yes," he replied, "and they put me in hope and fear." "Then keep all these things so in your mind that they will become like goads in your side to prick you forward in the way you must go," said the interpreter. As Christian began to gird up his loins and prepare himself for his journey, the interpreter spoke again. "The Comforter be always with you, good Christian, to guide you in the way that leads to the city." So Christian went on his way, saying, "Here have I seen things rare and profitable, things pleasant, dreadful, things to make me stable in what I have begun to take in hand. Then let me think on them and understand why they were shown to me, and let me be thankful, O good interpreter, to thee." Chapter 6. Christian loses his burden at the cross. Now I saw in my dream that the highway up which Christian was to go was fenced on either side with a wall that was called salvation. Up this way, therefore, did burdened Christian run, but not without great difficulty because of the load on his back. He ran thus till he came to a place somewhat ascending, and on that place stood a cross, and a little below, in the bottom, a sepulchre. So I saw in my dream that just as Christian came up to the cross, his burden loosed from off his shoulders, fell from off his back, and began to tumble down the hill, and so it continued to do till it came to the mouth of the sepulchre. There it fell in, and I saw it no more. Then Christian was glad and lightsome, and said with a merry heart, "He hath given me rest by his sorrow, and life by his death." He stood still a while to look and to wonder, for it was very surprising to him that the sight of the cross should thus ease him of his burden. And so he looked and looked again, until the very springs of his eyes sent water running down his cheeks. Now as he stood there, looking and weeping, behold, 3 shining ones came and saluted him, saying, "Peace be to you." The first said, "Your sins are forgiven you." The second shining one stripped him of his rags and placed on him a change of raiment. The third set a mark in his forehead and gave him a roll with a seal upon it, which he instructed him to guard carefully as he ran, and to present it at the celestial gate when he arrived. So they went their way. Christian gave 3 great leaps for joy, and went on his way singing as he went, "Blessed cross, blessed grave, blessed rather be the man who there was put to death for me." In my dream, then, I saw that he went on in this joyful way down the hill. There he saw, a little to one side, 3 men fast asleep, with fetters upon their heels. The name of one was Simple, of another Sloth, and of the third Presumption. Christian, then, seeing them in this condition, went to them to see if possibly he might awake them, and cried, "You are like them that sleep on the top of a mast. Awake, therefore, and come away. Be willing, and I will help you off with your irons." As he told them, "If he that goeth about like a roaring lion comes by, you will certainly become a prey to his teeth." With that they looked at him, and Simple replied, "I see no danger." Sloth said, "Yet a little more sleep." And Presumption added, "Every tub must stand upon his own bottom." And so they went to sleep again, and Christian went on his way. Yet he was troubled to think that men in such danger should so little esteem the kindness in his offer to help them, both by awakening them, counseling them, and offering to help them off with their irons. As he was troubled about this, he saw two men come tumbling over the wall on the left side of the narrow way. Soon they hurried and caught up with him. The name of one was Formalist, and of the other Hypocrisy. As they drew up to him, they began conversing together. "Gentlemen," said Christian, "where did you come from, and where are you heading?" Together they replied, "We were born in the land of vainglory, and we are going for praise to Mount Zion." "Then why," Christian continued, "did you not come in at the gate which stands at the beginning of the way? Do you not know that it is written, 'He that cometh not in by the door, but climbeth up some other way, the same is a thief and a robber'?" Formalist and Hypocrisy said that to go to the gate for entrance was by all their countrymen counted too far around, and that therefore their usual way was to make a short cut of it, and to climb over the wall, as they had done. Christian countered, "But will it not be counted a trespass against the lord of the city to which we are going, thus to violate his revealed will?" Formalist and Hypocrisy told him that as for that he need not trouble his head, for what they did they had custom, and they could produce, if need be, testimony that could witness it for more than 1,000 years. "But," said Christian, "will it stand a trial at law?" They told him that custom, since it was of such long standing, more than 1,000 years, would doubtless now be admitted as a thing legal by an impartial judge. "And besides," said they, "if we get into the way, what does it matter which way we get in? If we're in, we're in. You are only in the way, who, as we perceive, came in at the gate. We are also in the way, who came tumbling over the wall. So wherein, pray, is your condition better than ours?" Christian replied, "I walk by the rule of my master, while you walk by the rude working of your fancies. You are counted as thieves already by the Lord of the way. Therefore I suspect you will not be found true men at the end of the way. You came in by yourselves without his direction, and shall go out by yourselves without his mercy." To this they made him but little answer, and suggested that he look to himself. I saw then that they went on, every man in his way, without much conferring with one another, except that these two men told Christian that, as to law and ordinances, they did not doubt that they did them as conscientiously as did he. "Therefore," said they, "we do not see wherein you differ from us, except by the coat on your back, which was, as we imagine, given you by some of your neighbors to hide the shame of your nakedness." "You will not be saved by laws and ordinances, since you did not come in by the door," said Christian. "And as for this coat, it was given me by the Lord of the place to which I go, in order, as you say, to cover my nakedness. And I take it as a token of his kindness to me, for I had nothing but rags before. This is a comfort to me as I travel. Surely, I think, when I get to the gate of the city, the Lord of it will know me for good, since I have his coat on my back, a coat that he gave me freely in the day when he stripped me of my rags. I have, too, a mark on my forehead, which you may not have noticed, which one of my Lord's most intimate associates placed there the day the burden fell off my shoulders." This book is continued on cassette number 2, side A.